Hello, and welcome to the Architecture and Construction Career Choice panel discussion. We are very excited to have our panelists and participants with us today. To get things started, we'd like to know how you are joining us. So at this time, if you are joining us as an individual attendee, or if you are participating as a class, let us know via the poll on your screen. And we'll give folks a few more seconds to respond. Okay, so it looks like about 70% of our students are joining us individually today, and that's great. But however you are joining us, we hope you actively participate in the discussion. While you cannot chat with the panelists via the chat feature, you can and you are encouraged to submit questions for the panel or a particular panelist via the Q&A. Submit your name or class name with your question, and we'll read it along with your submission. Or you may submit a question anonymously. There will also be a couple of polling questions like the one we just completed. So submit your answers promptly to have your responses recorded. Now, without any further delay, I'd like to turn things over to the panel's moderator, John Daniel with Daniel Builders, LLC. Good morning, John.
Good morning, audience. Thank you for having me this morning, and I'd like to thank our panelists for being here this morning. If we dig right into things this morning, and we'll get started with a little introduction of each person, and I think we'll be starting with Jeff. And if you just give us a little brief intro, tell us a little bit about yourself and your business.
Thank you, John, and good morning. My name is Jeff Bond. I am the president and architect at Solex Architecture. We are based in Danville. As an architecture firm, we are responsible for the design of vertical structures such as buildings. We work all over the region, so we have projects from Roanoke to Lynchburg to South Hill, Newport News, Raleigh, Greensboro, Winston, but our home base is here in Danville. As an architect, or as an architecture firm, we design buildings. We coordinate with engineers, such as structural engineers, mechanical, electrical, plumbing engineers. So a typical day could involve some meetings and design charrettes with other professionals. And we could be out in the field looking at various construction projects, or meeting with the owner to kind of brainstorm and see if a project is viable. I started the company in 2013. Prior to that, I worked for a national A&E firm for about 6 years. So I've been doing this for 14 years, plus or minus. And architecture really excites me. Something that I've always wanted to do. I think architects, or the architecture profession in general, those people know for a long time that they want to be architects. It's a great profession. It's a good blend of science and math and art. It's a good way to get your creative juices flowing. Part of my education involved going to Virginia Tech School of Architecture. Graduated there in 2007. And my favorite part of the job is meeting with the clients and watching their reaction as they walk a project, and we're able to design something that meets their needs and dreams. Thank you, John.
Okay, Jeff, thanks. We'll now go, did we lose, is Codie still with us?
I'm here.
Okay, There we are. Codie, good morning.
Good morning.
Tell us a little bit about yourself and your business, and a little bit about CNC piping and fabrication.
Okay. So my name's Codie Cyrus. I own CNC Piping and Fabrication. The fun things that I get to do throughout the day is CEO tasks. That doesn't sound very descriptive or exciting, right? My favorite part, kind of about what I do on a daily, is problem solve. I don't think I would call myself the best student when I was in school. I like to do different things consistently, and my current career allows me to do that. We're kind of solving the same things in a different way each day. And so when I come to work, my goal is to, when we have an issue, whatever we run into, is to try to solve that problem so the next time it's not an issue. So example of kind of who we serve and what we do is we work inside places like Georgia Pacific, Nestle, Frito-Lay, Abbott Nutrition. Those are larger manufacturing facilities. So we serve the people that make stuff that you typically buy off a shelf. So Abbott makes Similac or Pedialyte or something along those lines. You're probably familiar, seeing some of those on the shelves. So we help them to make sure they stay up and running. And the way that we do that is we come in, and if their pipe breaks, so a lot of this stuff that goes on or in the body has to go through a special clean process to make sure that when we get it, it's clean, it's safe to eat, drink, or ingest in whatever form we decide to ingest it. A lotion has to go through a clean process. So when you get it and it's all pretty packaged in your bottle, on the back end, a lot has went into that to make sure it's safe for you to use. And we play a part into that to make sure where it's running through these lines, if that line breaks, like anything would, like your water pipes at home, we have to come in and use a special kind of welding. Stainless steel tubing is what our specialty is. So we can come in and do that to make sure that that facility stays up and running and continues to make that product. I, in particular, do not do the welding. I help make sure that my team has everything that they need. So when a customer does call, that we can get out there and those guys can get in the grind and do the hard work for which they do on the daily. What it looks like in our field is that we have welders, and we have mechanics, and we have helpers. The mechanics are a little different from what your typical would be. We don't work on cars, but we go in and work on the machines to make sure that those things are still, up and running properly. We can change out valves. You don't need to know how to weld sometimes to change out a valve. But our main thing that most people, like to talk about are our welders. And those welders go through different levels of schooling. Sometimes it's on the job training. We've had a guy with us that's now a foreman with us that came straight out of high school, but he was willing to learn, and we trained him kind of on the job, and he's learned for the last 4 or 5 years. The way I got into the field that I'm in now is I didn't really know what I wanted to be when I grew up. I still don't know that I know, but I love what I do. I love serving my clients, and I love serving the people that, kind of work for me. And I wanted to get into something that was just a little different. And that's kind of where we're at today. My husband was the skilled welder, and kind of came up with this idea together. We knew that there was a gap in the market, and our job is just to make sure our customers stay up and running, and that the younger generation knows that welding is an amazing opportunity to go into something and possibly start your own business, but it's definitely a great opportunity in our local area to make really good money. So that's who we are and kind of what we do. Thank you, John.
Great. Thank you, Codie.
Sure.
Next, Dave Robson with Walbridge. Good morning.
Good morning, John, and thanks for the opportunity. This is really exciting. So my name is David Robson. I'm Group Vice President with Walbridge, a company headquartered out of Detroit, Michigan. Essentially, my role in the company is I lead all sales and business development activities. So essentially, a day for me would look like developing market and service strategies. I would lead opportunity capture. So essentially, pursuing projects and clients, and then supporting the projects in the field. Been with the company for 21 years in various roles. I've been in estimating, I've been in procurement, I even ran a yard for the company. So this is basically the only company I've worked for. We kind of believe in organic growth. Our company is pretty unique in the fact we've been around for 105 years. We're number one in automotive and manufacturing construction in the country. I've come to love Southern Virginia through our construction of the Microsoft data centers down in Boynton, Virginia. And part of what I do is engaging in the community and supporting initiatives and events like this. An exciting thing about my business and what I do is every day is different. It's like watching the Discovery Channel. You can see some of the clients we work for, and they're basically, Fortune 50 type companies. And I get to spend a lot of time putting together strategies with architects like Jeff and key subcontractors like Codie at CNC Piping. So it's a lot of fun for me, and ultimately it's great to be leading the front end of these projects and then ultimately seeing what gets built at the end. Going to a job site and seeing 1,000 tradespeople working, and knowing that the fruits of my labor from spending 3 years in Seattle and working and developing the solution, for example, when it comes to Microsoft. So it's very exciting. We do some pretty cool things, everything from data centers to distribution and warehouse. A really big market for us right now would be the electric vehicles. So battery electric vehicle projects. We're building 6 new plants around the country. We work in the US, Canada, Mexico, and Brazil. As far as the post-secondary education, what's great about the architecture, engineering, construction field is it's a world of itself. I mean, you have legal, accounting, scheduling, IT, marketing, project management, trades, and you can get in any way. Myself personally, I went to a community college for mechanical engineering, and then ultimately went through leadership development here at Walbridge, and then found myself at the Harvard Business School in the executive education program. Construction is unbelievable. It broadens your horizons. You travel across the country. It's one of the highest paying industries, which I never realized when I got into it kind of blindly, in my early 20s and had no idea. And it gives you the opportunity to explore and travel and meet a lot of really great people. So I get passionate about it. And probably the biggest thing that I do get excited about is giving back to the community. And that's really important at Walbridge. Every employee strives to at least have 30 hours of community development and community involvement. And it's been great meeting the people of Southern Virginia. Thanks, John.
Thanks, Dave. Next, we have David Sage with Virginia Technical Institute.
Good morning, everybody. My name is David Sage with Virginia Technical Institute. We are a trades training facility. What we do is we teach several different trade skills. We have plumbing, electrical, industrial maintenance mechanics. We have carpenters, welders, HVAC technicians. We have also PLC training, and then we also do marine trades as well. And so our goal is we're a technical school. So we're a certificate school. We're not a degree seeking program. Students come in and they get to learn about the trades hands-on, and in the classroom, they get to learn from trades professionals who've been working in the industry for some cases, decades. We have some instructors who've been in the industry for 40 years, and they sew into the students. Students get a certificate at the end and a credential, nationally recognized. And some of you who may be in CTE programs recognize the NCCR credential. That's a credential that we offer. And so students get the hands-on, get the learning, but we do it in the evening so students can be working in the industry at the same time, because we feel it's important to get your education, but it's also important to get your clock hours on the job training. School married with on the job makes for a great apprenticeship, which equals credentials that are recognized by the state, like the journeyman card for your electricians, your HVAC mechanics, and then your plumbers. You all need to be thinking about a journeyman card. And that track is accelerated by school, but you must be in the industry working as well. So that's kind of what we do. My typical day, I'm in administration. My title is the executive director. What that means is I oversee the entire organization. I try to do relational connectivity like this. I also oversee our accreditation. I try to build business partner relationships with businesses, because if we don't have good business relationships, what good are we as a trade school if we can't get you a job afterward, if we can't know what industry needs? So I try to work alongside industry as well. I've been with the organization for 3 years. In the field, so background trades, my dad owned a janitorial company growing up. I met a guy in high school, his dad owned a welding company, and I jumped ship from my dad to become a welder. So my background is personally in welding. Then I went into ministry. I'm also a bivocational pastor. So I actually work at VTI to keep up my preaching habit, because I'm at a small church and they can't afford to pay me a salary. And then, so my background is trades and some construction. I've owned rental properties and remodeled some houses, and then also ministry and doing this. Been here 3 years, but in the industry, I guess, since I was 16 years old. My first job ever was cleaning toilets as a janitor. So I've come a little bit of a distance, but you know what? In some ways, going back to cleaning toilets would be a lot simpler and a lot more pleasant to deal with than some of the things I have to deal with. So just think about that as you're thinking about your career path. Some things are not as delightful as you think they'll be, and some things weren't as bad as you thought they were. But get a job, get to work, and grow yourself, learn yourself, and continue to advance. Favorite part of the current job is seeing lives changed by getting the education that they need, seeing folks going from a place of understanding to understanding and excellence. So just watching people develop, watching people make a better for themselves, better for their family, better for the community. So that's probably my favorite part of my job. Thank you.
Okay, David, thank you. I think we'll have a couple poll questions that may be coming out here in just a second, and we'd like to call participants' attention to the diversity of the information that's been shared, and we'd like to get your feedback on these questions. And while that is going on, we'll go right ahead into some more information here. So tell us a little bit about what some of you've touched on it already, the education that you have and the education that you're looking for when you're hiring an individual to come to work for you. Jeff, we'll start with you.
So the education that I have was obviously through Virginia Tech, as I mentioned. In Virginia and other states, a degree in architecture, you have kind of two paths. Virginia Tech offers a 5-year program before you can sit for your state license exams. Other colleges and universities offer a 4+2 program where you go 4 years for a Bachelor of Science and then 2 years for a Master of Architecture. So I chose a 5-year route. Some of the skills that, what was the second part of your question? I'm sorry.
What are you looking for in an individual? What type of education when you're hiring an individual?
So a good basic understanding of math principles, I think, is strong in architecture and engineering. There's a lot of calculations that are involved in designing buildings, making sure that they stand up and you're protecting the health, safety, and welfare of the public. Some of the skills that I really look for are the soft skills. How are you able to interact with people? Are you trainable? Do you have a willingness to learn? Are you eager to grow a career and kind of advance yourself professionally? So I think some of those soft skills are just as important to us as the technical math and science background.
Okay, Jeff, thank you. Codie, tell us a little bit about what you're looking for in individuals when you're hiring a person.
When I'm hiring, the soft skills that Jeff said are 100%. I can tell you probably everywhere that you go. I don't care if it's cleaning toilets, as David says, or, you know, being an architect. You have to be willing to learn, and you have to have an open mind. When you understand any place that you apply, you're choosing to work there as much as that company is choosing for you to work there. So go with somewhere that you're willing to have an open mind, and you're going to trust the leadership, and you're going to come in and work hard, and take constructive criticism. What we look for is, outside of those soft skills, it's awesome if you can have some type of welding accreditation. David Sage talks about your NCCER. I would always prefer to see an NCCER card than I would your certificate or diploma from an institution. The reason why is that NCCER is nationally recognized, which means that program is the same from here to California, and you cannot alter that. When you get a degree at an institute, then they can make up their own curriculum as to what should go into how many hours and things along those lines that are going to go into your diploma. I'm sure that that is regulated by something, but we've seen that to be different. People from different areas or different schools kind of come in and can weld at different levels with the same degree, which is unusual. So we do love to see that NCCR. However, we will hire you straight green, and you can come into our company as a helper and just have some mechanical knowledge, and just be willing to learn. Or if you want to come in and be a level 3 welder for us, you need to learn how to weld and pass a 6G stainless steel tubing test. And that is just, I guess you would say it's kind of lingo for our industry, right? So if you know what you're looking for, then that's a test that we ask that you pass for that. But we love to bring people in, we love to teach them, and we love to participate with other organizations to encourage you on the path if that's the one that you want to go down, and get you started when we have the room.
Okay, Codie, thank you. Dave Robson.
Yeah, I concur with Jeff and Codie. I mean, here at Walbridge, we hire for attitude and character. We truly believe the rest can be taught, essentially, and we're really big on organic growth here. And then the breadth of what we do here, when you look at, we've got a large legal department. So obviously we've got people that went to law school. We've got, trades professionals that went up through maybe a union apprenticeship program. We have marketing professionals. So we have architects and engineers. So here it really runs the gamut. But for us, the most important thing is your emotional intelligence, having kind of relentless work ethic, like Codie said. It's a very challenging industry. Everything is project based. So you're basically under a stopwatch for everything that you do, from the proposal to final completion to getting a certificate of occupancy, as we all know. So you have to have thick skin. You have to be able to perform under pressure. And I've seen people with outstanding education that can't, hang in the industry. And then we have others that don't, or they grew up organically. They may have been on a survey crew and end up being an executive 30 years later. So what's outstanding about this industry is, from my perspective, there isn't one blueprint. It's having the right attitude and the character, and having trust and alignment within your organization, and really believing what they believe in, and having blind faith that it'll take you where you need to be. Thanks.
Okay, thanks. David Sage, if you could just give us a little quick rundown of what VTI has to offer as far as the technical school.
Sure. I did kind of mention that in my opening, and we offer a 4-year credential, but I'm sorry, 2-year credential, 4 semesters. It's 4 levels. So students would come in the evening. It'll be from 5 until 8:30 or 9 o'clock at night, depending on what's going on that night. And it's 2 nights a week. And so students will come in and they'll learn from folks who've been in the field for like I said, in some cases, decades. Minimum we require is a journey level as far as in the classroom, but most of our folks are master level. They've been doing it for a long time. And students come in and they get to learn from the book, the credential, and they also get to learn from the instructor, and they get to be in the lab where they get to experience hands-on. We do offer, again, we offer plumbing, electrical, industrial maintenance mechanics. So there's mechanics who are working in industry. You have a piece of equipment that breaks down. They need to know how to fix it. You get a new piece of equipment. Somebody has to install that. And then they also maintain it to make sure that they don't break down. Because ultimately you don't want a piece of equipment to break down because that means you're shut down. We also have carpenters. So that's site surveying to rooftop systems and everything in between. We have welders, and we cover stick, MIG, TIG. We do it on pipe. We do fillet welds. We do bevel welds. So it's a pretty robust program. And then HVAC. PLCs is programmable logic controllers. That would be basically computer programming it in automation. So all these machines that are working in warehouses now have to have a coding system to be able to set it up and to be able to program it. So we have that class. And the marine trades is everything about boats, inboards, outboards, understanding boat terminology, those sorts of things. Because of Smith Mountain Lake, Leesville Lake, Bugs Island, we have that industry. And then also folks who maybe want to move to the coast, work in a marina at the beach somewhere. So we have that. And we are also working on a CDL program we're hoping to kick off in the spring.
Okay, thank you, David. I think we have the results of our first poll in, and they're showing those results now. And while we're taking a look at those results, Codie, we have a question from Kara Cook. Would like to know, are there a lot of women in your field?
There's not as many as I thought there might be. It has started to increase since we began 6 years ago. I think it's just more of me recognizing it, right? There are, David would probably be one to answer how many females kind of came through his class too, but one of the things that I hear from the gentlemen that are in the field is that when a woman has a really good opportunity to do great in this field, especially with the type of welding we do, because it's a lot of attention to detail. We have almost like a specialty welding that we do. So making sure that they're paying extra close attention, make sure the welds are clean, things along those lines, and make sure that it's really, I can't think of the word I'm looking for, but it's low tolerance in what we do. And so that takes some patience. And apparently that is really just naturally towards women as far as having those extra things in the field. So I've interviewed a few, we've hired a couple. I actually hired a girl that went through some training in Colorado, but she was looking more for, when you think about welding, what we do is our day is constantly different because we go to different facilities and weld. There's also like line welding. There's a couple places in our area where you can stand on a line, make the same weld, it goes down, you do the weld again. And so she was looking for more of something that was repetitive. She could stand in one place and do that. And so she found something that was a better fit for her. So when you think about going into a trade in architecture or whatever, you could be doing welding, depends on the environment. Same thing with plumbing. You could do that in a different environment. So think about where you're going and how you want to do that, what you want your day to look like versus just about doing that task in particular, because it can definitely change. So I would love to see more women in what we do. We've interviewed a couple, and they just have, it's definitely an option. So just not a lot from in our direct area, and we're in Alta Vista. So not a lot that I've seen in our direct area that's applied with us.
Hey, John, can I have a shot at that one as well to build off what Codie said?
Go ahead.
Yeah, so this is a significant time for women to get into the industry. I think right now, the last figure I saw was roughly about 7% women are in the construction field. The industry is pushing forward in diversity, equity, inclusion like they never have before. And it makes a lot of sense. We have huge shortages when it comes to construction trades, superintendents, we have over 100 open positions. And these are positions that make six figures. And we've failed as an industry over time to do a good job marketing to certain demographics, and women being one. And Codie brought up all the reasons. We have some of our most outstanding, not only superintendents, project managers, and executives are women that bring a whole other perspective. So, you know, if I'm a female looking at an industry, this is one I would definitely be checking out.
Thank you, Dave. And that is so true. That is very true. We have a question from an anonymous, and we'll start off with Jeff. What is one thing, basically, how has technology changed your job? What is one thing that was harder when you started your career that is a lot easier now?
So just the actual process of developing construction documents has changed a lot over the years. Originally, architecture and engineering was hand-drawn with a T-square and parallel bar. When I started out, we were primarily using CAD, which is a 2D drafting program. Now we've transitioned, hopefully most of the industry has transitioned over to a 3D modeling software. It's a BIM software, which is short for Building Information Modeling. And that's really an integration of all of the trades into one program. We're able to model in 3D the exterior skin of the building, the structure, the ductwork, the piping, some of the electrical components, and figure out if these things are going to work before you get out into the field. Determining a problem before the shovels go in the ground is a lot less expensive for the owner than trying to solve an issue in the field and come up with something that's retrofit and may not be the best option. So just the drafting software or the modeling software has changed a lot over the past 10 years.
Okay. We have a question from Madison Kilgore for David Sage. What is the tuition for VTI?
It's a great question. So it varies from trade to trade. So to make it simple, I'll just say each semester is under $2,000. So the full 2-year program is under $8,000. Some range from $1,780, and then some are about 18 materials. Like if you're welding, you're burning tickets, you're burning rods, are high in a program where we don't need to create as much waste as we train. So I would say under 8,000 for the full 2-year certificate.
Okay. Next question from Isaiah Woodson, and this is to the panel. How much has COVID affected your jobs on a daily basis? Codie, we'll start with you.
You know, COVID smacked our industry kind of hard. What happened is that when in what we do, we had to go into these other facilities. So where there was CDC regulations, right, and you had to follow those. We also had to follow whatever extra the facility that we were going into wanted us to do. We had to buy new hard hats, new shields, different things that they wanted to do to mitigate their risk there. And being a contractor in that field, we were just really at whatever it is that they wanted us to do. We had to go in and comply. And what it did also, from what I can tell, is that there's less people applying for positions. We're currently hiring for 2 positions, and there's less people applying. And I used to think that it was just, you know, localities, et cetera, that we just maybe didn't have the welders here. But the more I did a little bit of research, I seen that it's everywhere that is short on trades, partly probably because of this, but in general. So the people that are here if you're a welder or you're into trades, you can really work nationally and internationally. So these people have an opportunity to make a ton of money traveling. So instead of staying locally, they can go out and work for 2 to 4 weeks, 6 weeks, something along those lines, make really good money and come back and have some time off. So I think what COVID did for us was reduced the opportunity for, work staff, and sort of made it a little more complicated in that we had to change the cost of working increased. We had the new safety measures that we had to comply with. And the time, when we would have people sit, the quarantine and things like that, there was two or three times last year that as a company, we couldn't work in the office. And then half of our team, we just ended up having to pretty much shut down for 2 weeks and try to plan around that. And that was very confusing. Dave, I'm sure that you've probably seen this kind of to what you do when a big portion of a project gets frozen, it backs everything else up. So it can become almost catastrophic. The good thing that we do is that we kind of move quickly. We do a lot of repairs, some installs, and so our work is somewhere around, anywhere from a couple day project up to a 3-month project is on average the size of the stuff we work on. So it wasn't too catastrophic in that way, but it did cause us to have to move things, and the cost of employment increased, and the cost of work increased. So definitely it was a little damaging, not incapable of handling. It's one of those things, you got to push through, so you just figure out a new way how.
Okay. Dave Robson, if you could tell us just real quick about how important apprenticeship programs and internships are. You touched on the need for more people in the industry. Could you touch on apprenticeships and internships, and are those programs available?
Yeah, they're critical. And yes, we have both apprenticeships. So we self-perform millwright, rigging, ironwork, and the civil trades, and apprenticeships are key. And we've got apprentices working all over the country. As far as interns, we have a robust intern program, and that's one of the things that we're doing to get more women and visible minorities into the trades, is that we're looking at it and making sure that we are hiring more female interns and more visible minorities. And that's one way we're combating it. So typically we would offer about 50 intern positions annually around the country, from both, tech schools, vocational schools, and, some of the Big Ten universities in our area that have pretty progressive building construction management programs.
Okay, thank you. We have another question. Why did you choose the job that you have chosen? Jeff?
So as I mentioned in the intro, a lot of architects know from a very early age that they want to get into the profession. Growing up, personally, I've always wanted to be a doctor until I was about the age of 13. Just a quick story. My dad was training St. Bernards at the time. One of them tripped me up and I cut my knee pretty bad. Watched my great uncle stitch me up, and that was the point I decided I couldn't do that every day. At the same time, my stepfather was remodeling some homes, and, quote unquote, I used to help him draw up the modifications and worked with him in the field, doing some of the actual construction. So it was good to see something go from paper to the physical world. And that really interested me. I was strong in math and art as well, and just seemed like a good fit to blend those two together.
Okay, thank you. Dave Robson, if you could tell us what is the hardest part of your job in your opinion, and what do you enjoy the most?
I think the hardest part is basically, from my perspective, is constantly learning new industries and new projects, and trying to develop solutions for our customers. So at any given time, we propose on roughly about $10 billion worth of work on an annual basis. It's difficult, in our industry. You have maybe somewhere around a 30-40% hit ratio. So waking up every day competing knowing that you'll probably lose. And as my colleagues can attest to, it takes thick skin. And when you win, not to get too high, and when you lose, not to get too low. So that's, you know, something that I've learned to kind of love about our industry. And I also like the traveling. You know, I travel extensively, and kind of building on what Codie said, the pandemic brought upon some really good things and some negative things. One of the good things is advanced technology. You know, in 2019, I think I had 75 round trip flights, and in 2020, I had 3. So I got to spend more time with my family and things of that nature. So, but no, I think it's the constant change and the ups and downs of the industry.
Okay, thank you. Codie, if you could tell us who inspired you to get into this field?
That's a very good question. So the way that I kind of got into what I'm doing is not by my own accord. I met my husband, and my husband was a traveling welder at the time. And then one day out of the blue, he decided he wanted to start a company. Well, I tell you, I like to do different things, and I'm down to clown. Let's do whatever, right? So we LLC'd the company in 2014, and we began operations in 2015. There's a lot of red tape to go through. And I kept saying, you know, this isn't my dream. I'm just supporting, right? So this is one of the things that I've carried with me, I guess, since I was little. If you're going to work somewhere, and I've worked since I was 15, but if you're going to work somewhere, you put 110% in there. If you showed up that day, you got people counting on you, and you don't work to the level for which you get paid. You work for the level of your character. So when you show up, you're showing up 110% every day. And so when we did this, it was no different than what I would do anywhere else. We were just doing it for us. And so as it got bigger, he was like, this ain't really what I was thinking. I like, you know, this portion. So he worked in the field in the beginning, and I worked in the office. And one of the great opportunities that I had was to start improving myself. And I've went through quite a few programs, and one I went through in Richmond. The biggest thing was that I took away from that class was you're the top. Your business doesn't get bigger than what you are. So if you stop improving yourself, then your business, that's the cap, right? You're always going to be the cap. So you either need to sell it, hire somebody, you know, that is, no, I don't want to say better than you, but more experienced or something along those lines. And then you can retire, do whatever it is that you want to do. So I got into this because of his passion. And as I got into it, I thought it was fantastic. You know, we are along the same lines. I got my GED, and he went into trade school. He did graduate, but he went into trade school immediately after high school. And my thing was that sometimes that when you're inside of an educational facility and you don't fall inside a certain box or certain guidelines, whether you're above those or below those, there's not enough resources to really encourage you on the path that maybe is meant for you. And I loved doing this, and I loved going to talk to schools, and I love people come to work for us that may have a checkered background or really didn't know what it was that they wanted to do. So that inspiration came from originally him, and then being connected to the community and connected to individuals that maybe were told that they couldn't be successful because of dyslexia or because of they were the talker in class, or, you know, they like to play with their pencils while the teacher's teaching because they're over here building stuff. And so it's really a passion of mine to show other people that you can absolutely be successful. You just have to find that path. And that's kind of where it came from.
Okay, well, I think we're just about out of time for today. I would like to thank all of our panelists for being with us today and taking the time to share with the participants, and I'll turn it back over to Audie.
Thank you, John. Students, we hope you were exposed to some new careers and organizations in our region today. You can continue your career exploration through Major Clarity and the Career Choice website and activities. Remember, the more you engage, the more you learn. This panel counts as an activity towards Career Choice gear, as do the other panels, the scavenger hunt and the survey. The survey will be coming on Thursday. Thank you to our moderator, our panelists, teachers, and sponsors who made today's discussion possible. We couldn't bring Career Choice to our regional students without you. Here's hoping that we get to see you all, your business, students, and teachers back in person next school year. Have a great day. Thank you.